As students of history, we know we need to look back in order to assess at times where we're going, or at least where our opposition is going. Now today, in this episode of Active in America, we'll visit 1964 to draw 10 parallels with the 2020 election that you can use to throw off government tyranny. One of the huge positive attributes of the John Birch Society is the extensive path it has created throughout its 62 years in existence. Having generated and distributed millions of pages of educational information, it's not hard to see where the society has been. With the aid of a digital archive, we can look back at what was being said by leadership in its official publications. So the monthly JBS Bulletin is one of those publications, offering advice and direction for members in pursuit of the organization's mission. Let's set the stage for 1964. It was just after the presidential election of Democratic President Lyndon Johnson. He had run against Senator Barry Goldwater, who was a favorite among constitutional conservatives. The summer of 1964 saw many race riots and looting in large cities. A smear campaign was run to torpedo Senator Goldwater, as well as a long and sustained smear of the John Birch Society. Many in the Republican Party back in 1964 wanted nothing to do with Senator Goldwater. He was too conservative for their tastes. They wanted their left-wing Republican candidate to win the nomination and the election, but when Goldwater won the nomination, JBS founder Robert Welch wrote in August of 1964, "The sulking attitudes of men like Nelson Rockefeller and Henry Cabot Lodge not only reveal that to both men their left-wing sympathies and designs were actually far more important than the Republican Party, which they have simply been using to promote international socialism." Now, we wonder if those Republicans refusing today to defend honest and fair elections are of the same ilk. If they are not willing to stand for the Constitution, then what are they standing for? Once the 1964 election was complete, Mr. Welch summarized the discontent many members were feeling in the December 1964 bulletin. He specifically wrote these to the many thousands of new members that had come in and would continuously come in for months thereafter, and he gave 10 pieces of insight. See if this insight could be written for today. Number 1, the price of liberty is eternal vigilance. Sporadic outbursts of vigilance for a few months every 4 years will not suffice. Doesn't that sound a lot like our current political season? Number 2, political parties cannot maintain that vigilance for a number of reasons. The most important reason right now is that they fall to pieces after each election. Now today, this is more true of the Republican Party. Organization has never been its strength. Number 3, the liberals have found the means to divide, confuse, and stultify purely political action by American conservatives ever since 1932. The lack of continuity in either organization or sense of direction has kept the Republican Party from being able to put on any effective brakes on our national movement to the left. Now clearly, this has been the case all the way prior to Trump, as globalism continued to be led by many in the Republican Party, especially the neoconservatives. This will almost surely be the case after Trump as well, which brings us to number 4. The battle lines are becoming more and more clearly drawn. The difference between Goldwater and the establishment Republicans couldn't have been more stark. In fact, these establishment moderate and liberal Republicans publicly spoke at the Republican convention against true conservatism. Michigan Governor George Romney, father of now Senator Mitt Romney, called on the party to dismiss extremism, drawing parallels from Lincoln's speech condemning the Know Nothing Party. He failed to identify those extremists, but Senator Hugh Scott from Pennsylvania and New York Governor Nelson Rockefeller did just that. In a blatant smear, Senator Scott mentioned what he deemed irresponsible extremist groups and then said,
such as the Communists, the Ku Klux Klan, the John Birch Society, and others.
A few minutes after he said that, Governor Rockefeller gave a speech in support of this smear that he and others were trying to add as an amendment to the party's platform. He said,
"It is essential that this convention repudiate here and now any doctrine doctrinaire militant minority, whether communist, Ku Klux Klan, or Bircher, which would subvert this party to purposes alien to the very basic tenets which gave this party birth."
Senator Dirksen of Illinois.
As President Eisenhower said only 2 hours ago from this very rostrum, the Republican Party should reject extremism from either the left or the right.
Yes, indeed, the battle lines are clearly drawn, and the Republican wing of the party managed to succeed, helping launch and lead, in conjunction with liberals, socialists, and communists, the drive to globalism in exchange for American ideals and sovereignty. Number 5, the eventual outcome of this battle hinges on just one thing: our ability to convince enough of the American people soon enough that this enemy is a criminal conspiracy. As the Blue Book presentation pointed out 6 years ago, communism is not a political party, nor a military organization, nor an ideological crusade, nor a rebirth of Russian imperialist ambition, though it comprises and uses all of these parts and pretenses. Communism, in its unmistakable present reality, is wholly a conspiracy, a gigantic conspiracy to enslave mankind, an increasingly successful conspiracy controlled by determined, cunning, and utterly ruthless gangsters willing to use any means to achieve its end. Now, this remains our focus today, to expose the movement and convince enough of the American people to restore and protect Americanism. Number 6, there is no easy way, however, nor any direct or certain means by which those who are willfully blind can be made to see. Now, we would say that given the amount of tyranny America has seen within its borders in 2020, it may actually be easier to get others to see and to act. Number 7, those are the realities of the situation on the negative side. On the positive side, we begin with a consideration that we are trying to expose falsehood and replace it with truth. This offers terrific advantages in both strategy and tactics. Our job may look hard, but think of the continuous task the communists have of keeping all of those big lies lined up just right to appear convincing. And every hole in the dike, pierced by truth, presents the communists with the danger that some whole giant section of the levee of falsehood might start giving way. This is why the left has taken over our educational system and many of our churches, so that the lie of calling good evil and evil good gets easier without true facts and a moral foundation. Number 8, remember next that all we do is cumulative. Every tiny hole that any of us pierces in the communist fabrications of falsehood, every new recruit that each of us obtains to man the battering rams, adds just that much more to the problem the communists have in maintaining their facade. Number 9, we can also make all our efforts cumulative by continuous concentration on certain targets. The standing projects on our agenda have been carefully chosen with our total strategy in mind. 10, and finally, we can fortify our spirits with a realization of the historic and humanitarian importance of the job we have undertaken, of the staggering responsibility that now rests on our shoulders. That responsibility is not just for the future freedom of our country, our children, and ourselves, to an increasing amount of the best informed and most honorable citizens of other nations throughout the world. The John Birch Society now appears as the last hope of saving their country, their children, and themselves from communist slavery. No matter what happens in the courts with President Trump, the relentless attack of tyranny against liberty will not be solved by political parties. As Mr. Welch said over and over again, All we must find and build and use to win is sufficient understanding. Our education-based program of getting the right information into the right hands at the right time is what has helped to keep this country from sliding off into the New World Order abyss. Your help is needed more now than it has ever been. The other side has gotten so desperate that it has resorted to brazen, widespread election fraud just to keep its New World Order agenda intact. Your efforts in your local area are what will win the day for the Constitution, your God-given rights, and the American way of life as intended by the Founding Fathers. Let's not allow one person to shoulder the great responsibility of stopping these globalists. You can be part of the national organization that acts locally and is felt globally. Apply for membership in the John Birch Society and get active in saving your country today. As we go into our holiday season, share this video with others who are like-minded and ask them to join. There has never been a better time. Links are in the video description. With your help, one member at a time, one leader at a time, we will stop tyranny and restore the American Republic for all Americans. Will you act today? Until next time, this is Bill Hahn for the John Birch Society saying stay active, everyone.